Good morning, everybody. Thank you for joining us on today's webinar. Why is financial well-being important for working people? Well, the relationship between employer and employee is evolving, with businesses increasingly acknowledging the correlation between employee well-being and performance. In the past, much of this focus has been on physical and mental well-being of employees, with many employers taking active steps to tackle these issues. But now actually there is a third important factor in determining individual morale and productivity, and that's financial well-being. This global health crisis has most definitely increased the focus on financial well-being in the workplace, and we have seen it indeed even in our own business at Armstrong Watson. Just to let you know, the webinar will last for about between 20 and 25 minutes, and there is an opportunity to ask questions. You have a box on your screen that if you wish to type a question in, I will receive it. It is anonymous, so please send in as many questions as you can, and we will answer those at the end of the webinar. Let's introduce Armstrong Watson. Well, we are a financial planning and wealth management business as part of a larger accountancy practice, which has been advising, supporting and protecting clients across the north of England and southwest Scotland since 1867. We're proud to be a firm of chartered financial planners, and we're recognised by the Chartered Insurance Institute as an organisation that demonstrates significant commitment to an overall standard of excellence and professionalism. This commitment to service and quality of advice has now really led us to be managing client wealth in excess of £750 million. We want businesses to be able to support employee financial well-being through access to financial education and appropriate products that will help people take control of their own financial futures. My name's Dominic Gaunt, and I'm the Business Development and Relationship Manager for Armstrong Watson. My colleague Brian McNichol, good morning Brian, is our financial planning consultant based in our Glasgow office, and he looks after clients right across Scotland. So in terms of the body of this webinar, it's come out of 3 surveys that we've been extracting a lot of information from. The first one is the Financial Advice Market Review from 2016, which was really where the industry and government got together to look at developing affordable and accessible financial guidance to everybody, no matter what stage in their life, whether that's just starting out with a family or indeed right the way up to retirement and indeed into retirement itself. The next one is a survey in 2018 by NABER. I can never understand which one it is, but it's the DNA of financial well-being. Now, this is where we extracted quite a lot of information from, which highlighted the link between physical, mental and financial welfare of working people in the UK. And indeed, this organisation surveyed 10,000 employees and 580 employers to understand more about how employees' financial well-being relates to their work life. The final one we looked at again in 2018 was the Centre for Economic and Business Research, another major study which really looked into the impact on productivity for employers in the UK. Brian, I want to bring you in here now, if you don't mind, in terms of what financial challenges are people facing today.
Thank you, Dom. Well, when we look at challenges and we look at the survey of financial well-being in the workplace, the results were as follows. More than 1 in 3 UK households actually have put very little away for emergencies and would be unable to pay more than a month's rent or mortgage if they lost their income. 41% of these people could not find £500 if they were faced with emergency expenditure. Indeed, 2 in 5 of the working population actually have less than £100 in savings. At the same time, the levels of financial incapability leads to people focusing on what happens today rather than thinking about the future. And as a result of this, 50% of employees now feel that their financial circumstances are such that they will not be able to afford to retire, in the future. Continuing with financial challenges faced today, if we look at our physical, our mental and our financial health, these are all interlinked. If employees don't feel confident in their finances, this has an ongoing effect on other areas of their life. The NIBR DNA of financial wellbeing found that financial worries were the biggest concern for employees today. Later life retirement provision was the third biggest worry after health, and financial worries, as you can see, affect all age groups. There are two key issues that affect overall behaviour, and when people start to worry, it starts to have a physical impact, and this could be minor things like losing sleep, but losing sleep can lead to people's ability to perform normally. The second is mental health. Mental health, financial worries, this can suffer the onset of stress, anxiety, and start to lead to depression. All of these factors combined lead to people suffering and also an ability to perform, and this results in workplace sick days starting to be taken. So it's clear when employees have financial worries, their behaviour, their focus, their ability to carry out everyday activities are all affected. It's a vicious cycle where one aspect of their health has an impact on all other aspects. When people have good physical, mental and financial well-being, this is seen as a virtuous cycle and can lead to increased performance, overall happiness. However, any one of these areas can have a detrimental effect on the other two and lead to a vicious cycle to the detriment of health and behaviour. Back over to you, Dom, to tell you how it affects sectors.
Okay, cheers, Brian. Yeah, I mean, there's definitely an issue which is industry-wide. No one particular industry has cornered the market on absenteeism. It absolutely affects everybody. We actually thought that the financial services, legal and accounting sectors were going to be largely unaffected, but actually we found that certainly in the surveys that we looked at, the report, that every single sector was affected. Now, clearly the likes of construction and tourism, hospitality, leisure, those sectors are much more affected because of the shorter nature of contracts and things like that, and the uncertainty of some of those types of contracts. However, we actually ran our own survey internally with our own staff, which actually brought out some eye-opening results, actually, which really has helped us shape our HR policy in terms of how we communicate with our employees. You know, we found that our own staff, you know, in our accounting division and also our financial planning teams and support staff right across the board were all affected, especially in this health crisis. So it's really to say that no matter what industry you work in, you will be and are affected by this by absenteeism, but one of the three things that Brian discussed, which is mental, physical or financial health issues. In terms of the impact of those financial challenges, well, all these results were pre-COVID, and I suspect that the fact that COVID is affecting all businesses and affecting you guys out there and all your employees, that these results will be exacerbated. But given the direct impact on employee productivity, employers would benefit from helping their employees improve their financial well-being. Both employers and employees, from the results from these reports, agree that if employees knew where to go for help and guidance, they would have better control over their money, would seek help when needed. Staff morale in these reports, they said, could rise. The trust that could build between employers and employees would be immeasurable, but also staff retention could improve. In other words, people will stay with their employer for longer because they feel that their employer benefits them personally. In terms of you, the employer, being uniquely positioned to be able to support your employees, well, I can honestly tell you that you're already financially interlinked with your employees, because at the end of the day, you pay their wages, you pay pensions for them through auto enrolment, you provide them with holidays. So you are extremely well suited to deliver this type of support. If you could extend that to discuss financial matters by imparting information to them, if your employees are really well informed, then they're going to feel happier about working for you, because that's the increase in loyalty. It's not just about wages. And again, we turn to our own business, where we found that actually our employees valued us more, not just by talking about pay rises, because we were talking to them about other things and supporting them in other ways, and they felt more valued as a result of that, and they valued us as an employer more because of that. In terms of the appetite that's out there, well, I mean, again, this was pre-COVID, and my own experience when I'm talking to employers is absolutely, employees are desperate for this. You see in these studies that we looked at, the employee appetite for an employer to run these types of programs for your employees, they really do value it, especially in this health crisis. If you're providing engaging, high quality financial information, guidance and advice at the point in people's lives when they feel it's most useful to them, whether that's just starting out as a family, whether that's trying to get onto the housing ladder, whether that's thinking about retirement, whether that's being in retirement, all of those trigger points through a financial life cycle, then they will certainly feel in a much better place. They feel that you are supporting them to help them to make the most out of their money. With that, I want to bring Brian back in now, because we've actually developed something that we think will be really useful and benefit you guys.
Thank you, Dom. So how can we support responsible employers? Effectively, the Armstrong Watson financial planning and wealth management team are helping businesses to create and administer financial wellbeing programs. We make these specific to employer and employee needs. This can take many forms, such as seminars, workshops, webinars covering a wide range of topics, bespoke communications, and individual financial planning advice. If we look at further support for you and your employees, understanding employee needs and feedback through a colleague survey can provide valuable insight for an employer. It helps the employer to understand which information and areas of support their employees value most. A survey of this nature will help an employer to decide the type of financial well-being programme to run. And if you need specialist support and guidance, for example, if the feedback was around pensions or retirement planning, you may need to bring in specialists who can give regulated advice in areas such as this. So what do we have available for you and your employees? So we can provide seminars, workshops, webinars on a wide range of topics. And these would be tailored, to your workplace needs. For example, information, as I said earlier, on pensions may be relevant to all employees. However, other topics will not. Therefore, we could segment the information and the content to ensure that it is only relevant to those in attendance. This programme has been specifically developed for employers to deliver an additional added value benefit to their employees. The Armstrong Watson website will give you more information about the programme. We offer employers either go to the financial planning section under what we do, or simply search for wellbeing, and this will bring up all the relevant sections. In this section, we have a downloadable version of the Financial Education and Wellbeing programme, as well as some very useful articles and an example of an employee survey. The survey gives you a flavour of what you could use with your employees. There is also details of the education and wellbeing programme for both pre and post-retirement. Dom, over to you.
So thanks, Brian. I mean, just to sum up, I mean, people's financial wellbeing is no longer just an interesting, nice to have addition to an organisation's wellbeing strategy. Increasingly, employees are looking for their employer to help them improve their financial capability. In return, you, the owner of a business, should see improved productivity, reduced staff turnover, and the beneficial knock-on effects that improve other well-being initiatives. And that's really the whole focus of the webinar, is to really get you to think how you can support your staff in other ways, so that they can feel more valued and see you in a much better light. So look, we do have some questions, and I can see on the screen here we've got 3. The first one, yes, good point. Brian, how much does it cost for our service?
The good news there is it's totally free. The only cost to a business is the employee's time when they need to attend the webinar or the seminar. So really it's as simple as that, though.
Great. Second one, Brian, is you mentioned that survey that employees will be able to fill in, and then that would help tailor the webinar or seminar, depending on where we're at in terms of vaccines and what have you. We're allowed to go out and see people. Can an employer look at that survey first?
Yeah, of course they can. I mean, all the employer has to do is either email myself or you, Dom. We can send the survey back to the employer, and it will be a dummy survey for them to look at. The results are not recorded, so it's simply for them to look at. And if the employer wishes to proceed, then we can actually offer them a survey that is branded with their own logo for their employees. And then after that, when we get the results, the next step is to discuss what the employer would like to do with that and how they wish to proceed. And that would be interaction with myself or you.
Okay, well, we've and I'll take this last question that's come up. Is there a difference between the public and private sectors? Well, if I'm going to be honest with you, no, there isn't. There isn't in terms of this financial education and well-being. The only difference being that I suspect is the fact that if you work for the public sector, then you have different pension provisions than in the private sector. But in terms of this financial education and wellbeing program, we are actually talking to a wide range of small businesses, larger private businesses, but also we are engaging through the money advice service with public bodies. So yeah, absolutely, we can tailor any sort of program to an employer. And indeed, I had a conversation yesterday with a huge private, but also they have a lot of public employees through a pension scheme that they administer. So we're actually talking about this program. So yeah, absolutely, we can help. So I think that's it in terms of the question. So it just leaves me to say, Brian, thank you very much indeed to you for today.
Thank you.
But also to you watching the webinar. Thank you very much indeed for your time. I said 20 minutes to 25, and we're in at 20, so we've kept in good time. This webinar is being recorded, so you will get the recording sent to you post this event. But we'd like to wish you a good day, and please get in touch with Brian or indeed myself, and if you want to discuss this further, we'll be delighted to try and help you. So thanks very much.
Thank you.